can sit down a little bit and be a little calm down. We do have time for party after it's done.
Good to hear the good feedback. I know, yeah, lots of everyone said. Oh, this is my dad. But I'm happy where you were taking out. I saw when I was in the meeting. Oh, I see here.
Hello. We're going to have everybody quiet down. Thank you, guys. All right, everybody. Hello. Hey, can we have the conversations end? Thank you. So, closing remarks. Thank you guys all for coming out. Nyajong. Hello and Mong. My name is Lord Vang, if you don't know me. I am a real estate agent here in Milwaukee with eXp Realty. And I want to thank you guys all so much for coming out tonight. Tonight, we celebrate the arrival of AREAA in Wisconsin, the AREAA Greater Milwaukee Chapter. And I want to thank all the previous speakers. They've already saved me a lot of work. They've explained what AREAA is. But, you know, we haven't had a chapter like this, an organization like this in Wisconsin yet until today. So, first of all, I want to thank the people. Can we get a thank you for the people, the event chair, the event committee that put this event together? It was very challenging for us, especially just getting approved as a chapter in August. And even today, we still don't have our own bank account. We don't really have an entity yet. It was very challenging for us to put this together and a first major event. And next, I want to thank all of our sponsors for helping us make this event possible. You know, we put this event together under the assumption that, okay, we'll just sell enough tickets and it'll fund the event, right? We did it, though. We brought in 150 people. It was very successful. But our amazing sponsors definitely helped us to cover the initial down payments on the venue, the food, all those sorts of things. Next, I mean, a lot of people already left, but I want to thank all of our speakers that we had, Sue Panza, Mo, Tom Larson, WRA CEO, Vicky. Are you still here, Vicky? There's she. Awesome. Vicky here to the end. And honestly, I want to say so much thanks to Vicky. It's really because of her. She helped us the whole entire way to get us here. And it was a very long process for us, very long. We had Zoom calls for over 2 years. Zoom calls for over 2 years to plan. That's a lot of Vicky. Yes, it was. And that's right. And Vicky could not be, you know, she was the best person to be here to install us as a chapter because she helped us to get here. And with her help, we were able to get formed. We made it to the National Convention to celebrate the 20th anniversary of AREAA. And a fun fact is, Chicago is actually the first chapter. Yes. So thank you, Chicago, for coming and supporting, as well as all of our AREAA family. We got Dallas in the house, Denver, Andy, where you at? Andy! I don't know. Oh, there he is, right there. So, lastly, I want to thank, of course, my wife for putting up with me. One day, I just came home from work, my engineering job, and I decided, hey, I want to quit my job, and I'm going to get my real estate agent license. And she just looked at me and said, okay, go do it. And so here I am today. So a lot of the other speakers already talked about the mission of AREAA. I think that's pretty clear that, you know, we're an organization of real estate professionals to help empower our Asian American communities on the path to home ownership. And I don't know if it was talked about, but I mean, we have 18,000 members in AREAA, and that's pretty amazing. So, you know, we talk about AREAA, the mission, everything, but what is the significance, right? Why is that so important? And I want to talk about my personal story because I can't speak for everybody else, but I mean, I'm sure there's probably other people who can relate a little bit to my story. And so the reason that I'm so passionate about AREAA and why myself helped to bring it here is that I grew up in Milwaukee my entire life. In fact, when we first immigrated to Milwaukee from Laos, we lived just a couple miles away from here on 12th and Scott, south side. And we moved all over Milwaukee. We moved all over the south side to the north side. I went to MPS as a child, and MPS was very diverse, but the education wasn't quite as good. And so my parents decided to sign me up for a diversity program that would bus me out to the suburbs. And so I'd go to the suburban schools after 4th grade. And I was lucky if I was one of 3 minority kids in my class. I would go on to college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Go Badgers! Our state's flagship university. However, even while I was there, it was very diverse, but there was always a subtle atmosphere of racism, discrimination, and I saw it firsthand. And even when I went into the workforce, I could still feel that, you know, didn't really quite fit in. You know, I had a project that I was working on for a company in China, and my president just, you know, one day was like, hey, yeah, we'll just send Laura over there. He could help in negotiations, read the docs and all that. And I had to break the news to him that, you know what, I'll take the free trip to China, but I can't read Chinese. I'm not Chinese. And so he kind of was disappointed. And I was like, well, you should ask that question during the interview, I guess. But, you know, being a first-generation immigrant person of color, everywhere that I've kind of been, there was never really an organization, a place that felt welcoming and inclusive for someone of my background. And, you know, why is that, right? And so I think one of the reasons for us, the Asian community in Wisconsin, is that we just don't have enough population here. And in Wisconsin, I'm saying, you know, there's 3.7% of the 5.9 million are of AANHPI. And so I think, you know, we've traveled the country. We've been to places like California, Texas, where the Asians are just everywhere. You feel like, oh, nobody's really looking at you, you know. You feel like you fit in. And you know, it's more familiar, it's more welcoming. So that's one of the challenges. And another challenge is that, quite frankly, all of the AANHPI in Wisconsin is all over the place. So we're all over the multiple cities. Milwaukee having the most population by count. However, it's still only 5% of Milwaukee's total 600,000. So in Wisconsin, the Hmong are actually the largest population for Asians, followed by the Chinese. And per the 2020 census, Wisconsin is home to the 3rd biggest Hmong population in the U.S. at 60,000. Milwaukee has 12,000 Hmong, making Milwaukee the 4th largest Hmong city. And when it comes to statistics on home ownerships, though, the Wisconsin AANHPI home ownership rate is only at 51%, compared to the earlier 62% reported by Vicky. And so why is that lower here in Wisconsin? Well, it's because of a general stereotype, an Asian monolith, that, you know, all Asians are successful, well-off, educated. But when you break down all the different types of Asians out there, right, we've got a ton of different Asians. And it just turns out that the Hmong, as well as the Burmese, are the people who are of the lower homeownership rates. So, of course, Wisconsin has a high Hmong population, and we also have a pretty decent sized amount of Burmese as well. So, you know, for the people who don't even know who Hmong people are, I just want to share a little bit of history about that. The Hmong were recruited by the CIA during the Vietnam War. We fought for the U.S., a proxy war against the communist Vietnamese. And in 1975, when the U.S. left Vietnam, the diaspora of the Hmong began. And in our Hmong history, we call that Thảo Lúc Tây Trời Tầng, which means when the world exploded. And that was quite figuratively and literally for us Hmong. Many fled Laos across the river of the Mekong into Thailand, and they, temporarily lived in refugee camps until some of them came to America. Some of them made the trip to America. Others were sent to France, Canada, Australia, even parts of South America have Hmong. And, we came to this country now almost 50 years that Hmong people have been in this country. No clothes, basically clothes on our backs, really, and no English, no education, no clue what credit or credit score was. But we've been here, again, like I said, nearly 50 years now. We now have doctors. We have professors, one in this room that I know of, an Olympic gold medalist, judges, politicians, mayors, and of course, realtors, and a couple loan officers. However, the majority of the Hmong are still struggling, and the home ownership struggles are related to our culture, our language barriers, our lack of financial education. Why do I need a bank account? Why do I need to put my cash in there? What's credit? And the lack of down payment, simply due to because low levels of completion of higher education, which translates to low skills, low job pay. And of course, discrimination that happens in real estate, right? With mortgage applications, with redlining, with low appraisals, all that exists in our real estate world for minorities. And I've come across a handful of home clients in my career. And some very old grandmas who've been here for 40 years, never owned a home once in their life. And it's extremely rewarding to be able to help somebody like that to overcome those struggles. To help them to get their own home and build their family's generational wealth. Because we in real estate know that to have real wealth, it takes home ownership. The gap between people who own homes and the ones who don't is huge. And so there are many more of those people that we need to help. And without a voice like AREAA, without an organization like this focusing on home ownership within Wisconsin's Asian communities to help these people, to educate, provide the help where it's needed, our communities will continue to struggle. And I urge you, if you're not a member of AREAA, if you can consider joining us as a regular member, or if you want to take on a bigger role, a leadership role, we would love to have your help. And, when I started my real estate agent career, I didn't have any intentions of being a normal agent. I got my agent license to grow my real estate investing portfolio. But through getting my license, I actually helped my friends and my family with the biggest purchases of their life. And I found out that serving others, it was very rewarding and a fulfilling career. And I started to do quite well, just helping my limited SOI. And so I decided to quit my job and I went full-time. But I quickly found out that, after I exhausted my SOI, to actually become a successful agent, I had to level my skills and go beyond, the people I know. And at the time, I had no network. I knew of no one in the real estate professional world. There were very few people around me that I knew that were successful agents who could support and help me out. And so, some of that was because of my limited belief that I was Hmong. I have a small circle of people. I was an immigrant. I was a minority within a minority. Hmong, are not, people don't even know who they really are, really. I think we're Chinese, probably. And I struggled. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I never saw anyone who looked like me that was a successful top producing agent. It just didn't exist in my mind. And it wasn't until I joined a national brokerage like eXp Realty, and then an organization like AREAA Chicago, because once I learned about AREAA, but there wasn't one here in Milwaukee, I was willing to drive down to Chicago to get in the rooms with the best in the business. And they looked like me. And it was absolutely incredible. Everybody was so welcoming. I don't know how many shout outs that I got that, hey, Milwaukee's in the house from Vicky. It was just amazing. The best feeling ever. And I remember with EXP, I remember going to events. I saw on the stage people like John Tsai, Tom Trong, James Wong on the biggest stage of EXP. And that was quite amazing. And then, I got to connect with, of course, Daniel Ng here, Andy Leung, and just surrounding myself with these amazing real estate professionals and leaders has transformed my business and changed what I thought was possible. I mean, Daniel and Andy and I and a bunch of other agents, we just started the year with a crazy 5-day intense Tony Robbins Business Master training course. Every day was like 12 to 14 hours of training. It was absolutely amazing. And it's people like this that inspire me, that help me to grow, and they always challenge me to do more. And that's what leaders do. They see the potential in others, and they help bring it out. And at AREAA, like I mentioned, everybody is so inclusive. They're welcoming. I remember an event, I was down in Chicago. I was talking to Sharon Wong at the time, for over 10 minutes. And then she told me she was the president of the chapter. And I was like, wow, you're talking to me for like over 10 minutes. Don't you have something to do? And so I wanted to be respectful of her time, but she just kept talking to me. So it's just people like this that want to stop and take the time to know who you are. And that's amazing. So for these reasons, I'm excited that we finally have an AREAA chapter in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. And I'm honored to be the founding president of AREAA Greater Milwaukee. Like I mentioned, we had a bunch of Zoom calls over a 2-year span. And during those Zoom calls, never once did I think it was not my intention to be the founding president of AREAA, of a chapter in Wisconsin. But here I am. And that's because as we got things rolling, we struggled to find leaders to fill the leadership position boards. But I thought to myself, well, if I truly believe in this organization, there is no next time. There's only this time. You must be willing to be the change you want to see in the world, said Gandhi. And so I'm here along with my board to help set the foundation for our chapter and set up the chapter for success for those who come after us, and to continue to make an impact on our state and our Asian communities. So with that said, if you still have a drink in your hand, let's make a toast. To AREAA, Greater Milwaukee Chapter. We are here, and we're ready to work with all of you to help more communities in our great state. Cheers. And so my last request is that, as you sit there, or even after you leave this event, if you think of or come across an opportunity, now or in the future, that we can collaborate, work together towards on common goals for both of our organizations, please reach out to us. Let's work together. Thank you all for coming again. Have a great night. And as you walk out, we do have some gifts for you. They're cups from Federal Home Loan Bank, Chicago. They're in those little boxes by the door. First come, first serve.